Greetings, cinephiles. Are you looking for a movie analysis podcast that stands above the rest? Then look no further than Collateral Cinema, the only movie podcast that matters.
We analyze good movies, we analyze bad movies, and yes, we also analyze the in-betweens of the world of cinema.
So if you like what you hear, find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
And listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and wherever you get your podcasts.
And yes, my friends, we are 420 friendly. So when you listen to us, smoke it if you've got it. And now, here's a new episode of Collateral Gaming. The show starts right now.
I'm Ashley Chancellor.
I'm Dan Rockwood.
And this is Collateral Gaming. Welcome back to Collateral Gaming, the only video game podcast that matters, where we focus on good games, bad games, and everything else in between in the world of gaming. We are podcasting straight from Houston, Texas, and yes, my friends, we are a 420 friendly podcast, so whatever you have, smoke it if you've got it. And welcome to part 2 of our Ghost of Yotei review. I'm joined again by Dan. How's it going, man?
It is going great. I've been playing as much of this game as I can. Well, as much as time will allow, anyways. Yeah. We are now in the season where Metroid Prime 4 is out as we record this, and I know we both have been sinking some time into there. So I've had to pull myself out of Samus's power suit to jump back into Yotei for a bit. But it's been great. And honestly, the two games play so differently, it's kind of nice going from one to the other. It's like it scratches both sides of my brain.
Definitely. Yeah, jumping from one to the other has been an enjoyable experience. Yeah, I just jumped back into Yotei today after Prime 4 release yesterday. So it's been fun. I definitely want to finish this game. I haven't finished it. I'm reckon I'm somewhere at the midpoint, the halfway point. I mean, 3 out of 6 Yotei members are dead, so that sounds like that would be the halfway point of the game, maybe. So we'll see. Although maybe it's more like the first third or something, because I mean, I don't feel like I've actually gotten to the next chapter or act. I don't know if this game does acts like Ghost of Tsushima did, but I have defeated the Kitsune and the Oni, so I'm I've actually kind of gotten a feel for how each of those different story routes goes, where they are the same, where they differ. So this is our spoiler review, although neither you nor I have actually completed the game yet. So we won't have in-game spoilers, at least, but
yeah, we really wanted to be able to bring the full review to you guys and have both beaten the game, but there's so much to do. There's a lot in this game. I've logged easily over 60 hours at this point, and when you look on the home screen of PS5 and it shows you the percentage completed, I'm 70% through the game. That percentage does go up a bit quicker as you get later in the game. I think, at least for me, I'm just doing everything, every side quest, every shrine, every hot springs. So that I don't believe gets calculated into your total completion percentage. That's just the story. So I was going, I'd play a dozen hours and not touch a main quest. Now that I've wrapped up a lot of that stuff, I'm doing main quests a bit more frequently. So the game pace is increasing, but there's still quite a bit for me to get through. But I am a little bit farther along than you. I completed those quests as well. So I also have 3 out of the 6 of the Yotei 6 killed. And I'm in that last area, the coast area now, where you can be hunting the spider and the dragon. So I'm tackling some of those quests. I have been able to equip a musket, and it is my favorite weapon in the game so far.
Fuck yeah.
That has been so cool. It makes me kind of sad that they lock that so late into the end game. It would have been cool to get that a little bit earlier. But I'm using it every chance I get, which is not that frequently because I get like 4 shots and then I have to find more ammunition. So it's a lot of fun, but definitely something you have to kind of pick and choose when you want to use it.
Yeah, I'm actually must be further along than I think I am. My game progress is 56%, and it says 96 hours. Now, granted, I think it said 96 hours this morning, and that's what I told you. So I don't think it's actually updated because I haven't closed the game yet or something. But it's probably even further than that. But yeah, 56%, that's roughly, that's a little bit more than halfway through. And that's even taking into account not just game progress, like main quest progress, but the open world and shit. Because I have been spending quite a bit of time in the open world. We talked at length about that in part 1, where like just how well this game does the open world, how well it guides you towards the various quests. But we didn't even really get into like the specific like types of quests that you go on, because I mean a couple have returned, and there's a lot more now. I mean, like you've got the bamboo strikes. And those come back, and we talked about how those in this one are a little bit more personal and have a little bit more of a kind of a story to each one now. But the fox shrines are also back, but I do feel like those are quite a bit shorter, and there are far less of them. And I feel like that was a good change, because I do feel like I spent quite a bit of time chasing around foxes in Ghost of Tsushima, maybe a little bit more than I needed to.
Yeah, I feel like, and we talked about this in part 1, how the world feels a little bit more alive, a little bit more filled, and I definitely get that with the wildlife that you encounter. Things feel to be a little bit more like naturally placed, and Will, I can speak more confidently on this once I get the platinum trophy, which I fully plan on doing. Ghost of Tsushima was the first platinum I ever got, and I was very proud of that one. Not a super difficult platinum, but was still felt accomplished doing it. And I think Yotei will be pretty similar. But in Tsushima, yeah, the last like 10 hours of that game, after I cleared the story to get the platinum, I was just running around like chasing foxes, following animals, following the little fireflies to collect, get all the collectibles and everything. There are collectibles in this game, the Ainu items, or Ainu. Again, I'm playing in Japanese. I don't know how anything is pronounced. Ainu, you said it is?
Yeah.
So the Ainu items, so there are 30 total in the game. I haven't been specifically looking for these, and I've already collected 20. So the game like lays out its collectibles in a way that I think is a little bit easier to complete just by naturally exploring and playing, which I really enjoy.
Yeah, I really, really like that too. I've not actually gotten to a point in the game where I really needed to start tracking things down. And the shamisen has a specific song for just about every kind of quest type or collectible that will give you a guiding wind to that thing. Tsushima had a similar mechanic with one of the suits. The shamisen is really cool, and that's actually one of the first things I actually maxed out, was getting all of the songs on it. But it's cool that at any point, you can play one of those and it'll just take you to the next shrine or altar of reflection or whatever. But I find that most often than not, I'm just kind of on my way towards, some kind of objective. And I in terms of objectives, I feel like the side stories are just as compelling as the main stories. It all really feels like it's like the same quality. So that's what I'm chasing. But it's like along the way, it's like, okay, yeah, no, there's a bird that's going to take me to a hot spring or another quest, or like, oh shit, this guy's getting attacked, I should probably step in here. I love how these things are peppered throughout, and then they feel like they're just the perfect level of them. The sparsity of them is just a perfect balance. I mean, compare that to like a Ubisoft open world game, right, where you're just cluttered with objectives all over the map. Here it feels honestly perfect. It's really, really good. And every single one of these is fun. I don't think there's a single type of mission that I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this. When it comes to bounties, though, I think that's my new favorite. The bounties are really, really fun because like they're all like individual stories that are compelling.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for bounties in any game.
Yeah.
They're just such a fun element to add. And in Red Dead Redemption 2 Online, there were bounties that you could team up with your friends and go after. If they ever do an online version of this game and kind of turn it into an MMO, that would be the perfect way where week to week they could refresh the bounty system. They could add new ones. They could add little stories around the world of people that you could track down and capture, kill, and it'd just be such a cool way to do it. But even the single player mode, it again, I mean, talk about the game feeling alive. It's like every new region you go to, every time you complete some quests, there are new bounties up on that board. And you may have not have gotten to it yet, but you do enough bounties and you follow that, it does unlock a specific quest later on in the game that is that's pretty cool, and it just opens up some new character development that you wouldn't see if you weren't doing those bounties.
Yeah, and bounties are honestly like one of the best ways of making money too. I think we might have mentioned that in part 1 at least, but like yeah, you get coin for it, you get a cool, interesting quest line, and every single one of them feels different and has a well done story. Like I think I particularly liked the Soma one. The dude with the flute, the cursed flute that kills everybody so he can keep playing the flute. I mean, just that like emotional scene at the end where you're composing the shamisen song with him. That was really cool. I actually really liked that. I mean, the dude's a piece of shit at the end of the day. You don't know why you're even like why this is emotionally resonating, but it is. It's sad and it's like okay, it was cool. I like quests like that.
I do too, and I know we talked in part 1 about the difference between Jin and Ghost of Tsushima and Atsu, and how Atsu is not, wasn't raised around the samurai. She doesn't have that same moral code or honor that Jin would have. So she's able to go out and basically do whatever she wants, including taking these bounties. Like she doesn't care. She wants the coins, so she's gonna hunt. She'll strike anyone down who gets in her way. But there are some of those bounty quests that are pretty cool. That you either find out that the person is actually like a pretty good person, and it was Lord Sato or someone who had put a bounty out on them, and you don't always complete the bounties. Every once in a while, Atsu decides, you know what, no, that's fine, and then the person either pays you the value or you let them go, and then you just tell them that you killed them and you get the money anyways. Like there are some cool story beats around the bounties specifically that are a lot of fun to play.
Yeah. I remember there was one dude in particular that was like, they literally called him a swindler. So I was like, okay, no, this dude's gonna ditch me. And he does. He gives you this. He cons you into this plan that I knew was bullshit. But he cons you into this plan of taking this mountain of wealth that's far greater than his bounty reward. In this encampment. And the only way you can enter that encampment is by doing this quest line. So you go through it, stealth it through, or force your way through, however you do it. And then eventually you get to the boss battle at the end, and then the dude just ups and leaves with the treasure. But he does leave behind his bounty reward, at least, for you. So it's like you don't get to go back to the bounty collector and hand over the bounty, but you still got paid for it. So
yeah. I hadn't realized that outpost was locked behind that quest. That's pretty cool because that was I definitely remember that. And then when he up and left and just stole everything, I was like, oh man, I can't believe I fell for this guy. So dumb.
I know.
Thought we were gonna split everything.
No, I sniffed bullshit from the beginning, but he ended up being, I guess, a little bit nicer than I thought he was. I mean, at least he left behind his bounty reward as like, hey, this is what you would have gotten. So
see, and I think that's your Texas instincts coming out. See, I'm too nice. I'm in the I'm up in the Northeast where we trust everybody. I'm just like, oh, this guy seems legit, and you're like, nah, man, he's gonna screw me over. I just know it.
Yeah. It is cool. There was one, I remember one in particular too. There's a person, like if you go up and do a bamboo strike up in the northern region where you're hunting the kitsune. There's a bamboo strike you do, and then a lady comes out and she's like, oh, hey, there's a guy that's like trying to steal people's swords. And you're like, oh, okay. And then it kind of gives you the general direction of where he is. So then you come across him and he tries to steal your sword, but you're like, nope, I know your game. And it's like, I wonder if I could have encountered him normally, because I've done this in quite a few other quests where I've encountered somebody in the wild before I actually got the quest, associated with them. So like I figure like I might have come across him naturally, and maybe he would have tried to steal my sword or something. I'm sure it would have just triggered a fight nonetheless either way, but maybe a little bit of different dialogue. But yeah, I thought that was cool. I thought it was cool how like somebody warns you about someone, and then you that kind of starts the bounty.
Yeah, there's so many cool aspects of it, and I feel like that this game does a good job of. There are moments where I think I encounter things just out in the world, and it leads me into a quest or a storyline that I wasn't necessarily expecting. And then later, it's like you can kind of catch up, and the game sort of catches up to you, and you can influence, dialogue things or stuff that you see and stuff like that. It's just such a such a fun game, and of course, a lot to do as we discussed, and it's good at making things very expansive, but also making it more bite-sized. And I think that's where it benefits from those regions that you're exploring. And it takes you to a new area and you're kind of closed off and you can take as much time as you want exploring that area. I do think for the future of the series, it would be cool for them to go full open world and everything is just accessible. But it does allow you to compartmentalize a little bit and be able to, if you want to play this game as a checklist completionist, you can do that. If you want to put the map away and just ride around and see what there is to see, you can do that too. There's so many different opportunities for people to kind of select how they want to play that game, and that's just so cool to me that it can so many people can be interested in the type of gameplay because they can just customize it to the way they want to play.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I like what you said about the regions because I did feel like those were little kind of closed off tales. And when I went to a new region, I kind of just spent my entire time and did everything I could in that region before leaving. Even if I had weapons to upgrade at home or whatnot, I kind of just made it a personal rule because that's kind of like from my lore perspective, I hate fast traveling around back and forth. I want to make it consistent with the lore and world. So I tend to try to just do everything in one region before I move on. But then especially once you get into like the specific like separate regions, like Ishikari Plain and Toshio Ridge and whatnot, and you're going after these guys, like I feel like that's really where the story comes in. Because one thing I mentioned in part one was that I felt like the revenge plot, I mean, that's kind of it's a tried and true story, and in some ways it's kind of playing it safe, but that's not the full story. Atsu's story is kind of just the foundation. Each of these different regions and in each of these different targets that you're going after from the Yotei 6 have a storyline, and they're all really compelling. Like when you go to Ishikari Plain and you meet your brother Jubei, like that was a surprising moment, and I really wanted to see the character dynamic, and I was like, man, you better not kill off Jubei now.
Yeah, meeting Jubei was so cool, and that's something that I personally wasn't expecting, and I don't know if the game or the trailers necessarily tease this, but when he showed up, I was like, oh man, I have a family member still alive. That's awesome. That's so great. And then you get to know his daughter, and a little later on, there's some side quests that involve her, and it's just very cool being able to see this relationship, and he's understanding of where Atsu is coming from, and trying to himself almost stepping into the role of like that Jin character of he has this loyalty to the Matsume and wanting to be a good warrior for them and a leader for them, but then also allowing Atsu to be able to go through and fulfill her quest of revenge and everything. It's a very cool character dynamic, and you definitely see both of them come at odds pretty frequently throughout the game and the quests that you go on.
Yeah, you do, and then you even kind of have that like Act 3 breakup between them, where it's like you're right, I don't know you, and I don't want to, and you're like, oh no, like you gotta fix things with your brother, but then when it comes down to it, and you come into the encampment to steal Mad Goro, he covers for you basically, and at the end of the day, he's like, no, I'm gonna help you. We're twin wolves, and you can't take that away from us, and it tugs at your heartstrings, and you're like, that's so cool, and yeah, I was not expecting him to come back. Looking back, it almost feels like something that should have been predictable, but it wasn't. It was like, no, I fully thought they killed off her brother along with the two parents. I'd be genuinely surprised if one of the parents shows up later. That would be insane.
That is that's what Fast and Furious is famous for, is bringing people back from the dead, and and that would feel like a very like Fast 10 moment if one of the parents just comes out of nowhere. And you know what? I'm not even going to rule it out, because there have been two very big, you could call them plot twists or surprises or whatever, but things that I definitely didn't see coming. Jubei was one, and the other was the Kitsune quest, which I know you recently completed yourself. Probably my favorite quest in the game so far. How are you feeling about that one?
Yeah, I really liked that one. That was actually, the Kitsune was the first Yotei 6 member that I actually went after, just because it was on my general region. You know, I went towards to get the Odachi, and I was like, okay. And the Odachi would have been effective to use against Ishikari Plain if I wanted to trek back there, but it just made more sense to just keep going north because the Kitsune quest line was right there. And I think that was the one that I had a little bit more intel on. That was something else that I wanted to talk about too, was like how like whenever you finish these like side objectives, you get a reward for it, and oftentimes it's just information about where to find targets for the main quest, and that was really cool. So it gives you, and it kind of gives you markers to go. But anyway, so I start heading towards the Kitsune quest line. You know, I go through like the Ainu region and go through like a couple stories with them that I thought was really touching and nice. But yeah, once you get to the Kitsune, like I really feel like the stakes amped up, and this is where I was, coming across the first like isolated story, and the plot twist midway through I didn't see coming either. I thought that was very well done. That the what's her face was the actual Kitsune, the one that was there the night her family was murdered.
Yeah, Oyuki. So
Oyuki.
It's a very really cool climactic scene. I mean, you're actually fighting the Kitsune, and he kind of drops this bit of knowledge of anyone can wear a mask. Like how do you know who you're actually going after? And then you come to find out that the woman who is helping you through this quest, she was part of the Yotei 6, and she was the Kitsune, and is regretful of the actions of that night, and you come to find out that she is the one who is responsible for Atsu surviving and being able to let her go. She had made that choice. And so now there's this whole thing of can Atsu forgive her? Can they work together? Can they take down, the new Kitsune? Like, who really is her enemy at this point? Is it the person currently serving Lord Sato, or is it the person who was there when her parents were killed?
Yeah.
And it's such a cool top tier like Sony first party storytelling perspective, and we get a lot of really excellent narrative games between like The Last of Us and God of War and all that. This is up there for me, especially they have big theming on like family relationships and family tragedy and trauma, and this totally is in line with all of that thematically, and they just did such a cool job with the narrative of this, and something that you didn't necessarily see it coming, didn't know about it from the beginning, didn't know that one of the people you were hunting was going to end up being someone totally different from who you were picturing. Just such a cool story. And then to wrap it up as well, where Atsu is able to come to terms with what had happened and basically forgive Oyuki for everything, was just such an incredible moment for me.
I actually thought there was going to be a moral choice coming where I could make a choice whether to kill or spare her, but they don't do that, which is fine. I think the story works the way that it does, and it kind of does send Atsu along a journey, because Atsu is, at least so far, a fairly static character, and I don't find her personal character arc as compelling as Jean's, but where she shines, I think, is her character dynamics, or is her dynamics with these other characters and these relationships. And, here's someone who, flat out, as soon as she finds out that Oyuki is the Kitsune that was there, it's like, I don't care who currently wears the mask. My goal is to kill the people that were involved in my family's murder. So, as far as she's concerned, I mean, that's her target, right? But like you mentioned, she kind of has to go through a character moment where, she kind of decides to do something strictly for the sake of good. I mean, and it will hurt Lord Saito, so, it does help her in the long run, but ultimately, yeah. And I think it's cool that Atsu is the kind of character who has a very strict personal moral code, and that comes into conflict with Jubei's moral code, having followed the Matsumai. So it is really cool to see how she comes to a head, and even finding out that she has, this like former samurai history that so far I'm pretty much in the dark about. I haven't really gotten a whole lot of information this part of her life, but I know parts of her life are being peppered throughout with flashbacks throughout, and that's really cool. So, as I come to learn Atsu more, and as I see her interact with more characters, I am enjoying the story more.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to hear that because the story is just it's so good, and I see where you're coming from with like Atsu and her character arc, and it not necessarily being as compelling as Jin's and Ghost of Tsushima, but that is again the way the world is just built out and constructed. I feel like these side characters and everything are just so rich and so incredible. And one of my favorite moments in the Kitsune quest line is when Atsu finally comes to terms and agrees to, basically forgive Oyuki for her role and in everything that had happened. And she says something along the lines of, "I will never forgive the Kitsune, but the innkeeper's daughter, I could forgive her."
Yes.
And just the realization and the separation between those people, and this is I could spend the rest of the show talking about this one theme, and I won't because that's not what people are here for. But the concept of forgiveness, and we are the sum of our choices. We're not just one thing that we've done or one mistake that we've made. Oyuki very clearly, has regrets from her past life as the Kitsune, is trying to atone for those, is trying to live a better life. And it creates some really cool moral questions of, does she deserve to be able to move past that? Is she forever going to be labeled as the person who took part in these atrocities, or is there redemption for her? There's just some, really cool pieces of storytelling. And for Atsu to be able to forgive her in this, I think is such a huge testament to kind of the moral fabric of what this game is kind of weaving throughout. That, yeah, this is absolutely a vengeance story, but within any vengeance tale you want to tell, there is a level of acceptance and forgiveness. And I see that coming out in these types of stories. And that's just really great to see, because they could have been a lot more shallower than that. And I love that they are going the extra, layer to go a little bit deeper on some of these tales.
Definitely, 100%. I mean, and it all just feels so grounded and real. These feel like real people. And I appreciate that so much.
I totally agree. And the game opens you up and gives you a bit of freedom when it, does finally give you some of these quests, and you can sort of do them in not a massively separate order, but we actually tackled our Yotei 6 a little differently, because I confronted the Oni and then did the Kitsune, and you did it opposite. So Kitsune was the first for you. And I think that's cool, because the way that we experienced the game and encountered these characters in this different order, I think sort of shapes the way that we're like perceiving the story, and it ensures that a lot of different playthroughs are going to be different, and you can kind of tackle things in a little bit of a different way.
Yeah, every player's experience will be just a little bit different, and I really appreciate that. It does have some weaknesses, but I feel like the game manages to overcome those. Like, for one, like I mentioned, Atsu is a fairly static character, and because you can tackle those two quest lines in either order, it's like you can't really carry character development from one into the other. Now, I'm expecting that once I reach the point where the game gives me more quests to do after this point, that we'll start to see some of that come through, and we'll get references to the journey she went on with her brother and the journey she went through forgiving Oyuki. I'm actually kind of excited to see where that goes with the story, but I think for a game that took what Ghost of Tsushima did and opened it up, they've done that phenomenally well. I mean, and it's just so well written. You can't really fault, anything on the writing or the performances or any of that. It's all expertly done, and I do feel like, whereas the main basic plot premise, is something that is very familiar, the stories that you come across in this world are not, and that's where this game shines. And to have, again, like I mentioned, side quests that are just as compelling as main quests is really what you want. Like I think the gold standard for that is like Witcher 3. I feel like that's the game that did that the best. But this is a pretty strong contender as well, and so is Ghost of Tsushima. Like, I feel like. And I feel like this game took it a step up from Ghost of Tsushima in making all of these quests and encounters just more impactful and better.
Random question: did you ever pick up a PlayStation Portal? Do you own one?
I do own one, and it does not work because I got the analog stick issue, and I know that I can send it in for repairs and they'll fix it. I just haven't done it yet. because I would love to play this game on PlayStation Portal with like a movie playing and like a samurai movie playing in the background. Yeah. I did, by the way, since our last episode, I did go back and watch Takashi Miike's 13 Assassins, Akira Kurosawa's Ran, and Shinichiro Watanabe's Samurai Champloo. None of which I had seen before, so I watched quite a few episodes of Samurai Champloo, and I watched the other two movies, and that was really great for kind of just building up. And I remember seeing like scenes and seeing things and being like, that's just like Ghost of Yotei. Like there's a landscape that looks just like somewhere. So it's like, no, this is very authentic.
That's awesome. That is, I appreciate the dedication of going into some of that cinema. I need to do that. The only thing I've really done since we last recorded outside of gaming as far as watching was I went to the movies to see Zootopia 2 earlier this week, and that doesn't really cross over with Ghost of Yotei that much. But you know what? I'm sure if I thought long enough, I could find some thematic similarities between Zootopia 2 and Ghost of Yotei.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I asked about the Portal, so I don't own one, but this game is the closest I've ever come to wanting to buy one, because I was like, man, this would be great to be able to just go up and bring it to like bed with me and be able to do some quests or lay on the couch and do this. But I think I'd like to get one eventually. But for now, because I'm a nerd, I have a like small portable monitor in my living room that I just pull out and has a really long cable. I plug the PS5 into that when I want a second like screen experience. Yeah. And that's worked out pretty well for me so far. But there's just a lot of interesting stuff to experience in this game. You mentioned the Mad Goro earlier, and he's one of my favorite side characters. Just so chaotic, so ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
You think that you're not necessarily going to get along, or you're not going to like do anything to support or protect him. Ends up being like a pretty big part of your your gameplay experience throughout. And I encountered a scene, and this comes once you unlock the coast area, so a little bit of insight into what's ahead. But it just made me laugh so hard because you encounter a settler who is mumbling, and they can't speak words, and so the subtitles are coming up, and you come to find that they had been tortured. Their teeth had been forcefully removed, and so they weren't able to speak at all. And some madman was just removing people's teeth and doing crazy things. And so Atsu immediately is like, oh, like the Mad Goro, like what is he up to? So you go and you find where the Mad Goro is. There's a line of people outside his hut, and you go up to the door and you hear someone like wincing and crying and everything. And then that person comes out sort of rubbing their cheek, and the Mad Goro comes out and he goes, another satisfied customer in dentistry, another, rotting tooth removed. And so Atsu's just like, what are you doing? All these people are here to see you. He's like, yeah, I decided to try out a new business. Everyone needs like dental care. And she's like, not everyone is satisfied with your business. Like I met a guy who's like really angry with you and can't talk or anything. And he's like, oh, well, it takes, some practice to get good at this. And so not, some of my early customers, not as good as what I am now. And it was just so hysterical to me that he's essentially a dentist now. Like that's what he went on to become. And the way that you encounter it is just
after
hysterical.
trying out the shrine priest gig, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I wonder if he's a reference to a character from Yakuza, Goro Majima, who's referred to as Mad Dog.
Oh, man, that seems way too close to be a coincidence, right? If that's the case.
Mad Goro, like, come on.
I mean, I think you might be onto something with that.
I feel like even like personality-wise, they're kind of similar, but I don't know. I probably need to play more Yakuza. Yeah, no, he's a fun character. I really enjoyed coming across him and just how intricately tied he was to the Ishikari Plain quest line.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And the Ishikari Plain, that was the area that the Oni was residing in, right?
Right.
Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah.
So the Oni plotline, and that was really cool. And he was such a foreboding character. And you find that Atsu had like slashed his face and took out one of his eyes, and he wears a mask throughout all the whole quest until you're able to unmask him. A lot of tension in that you're infiltrating, and he doesn't know who you are, doesn't even know that you survived. Yotei 6 assumes that you were killed, and essentially, operating right under his nose until he puts together who you are, and then you have your duel and your battle and finally have to defeat him. But that was a really cool part of the game. I especially love teaming up with Jubei and doing, some of the infiltration and him like bringing you in. And it was just some really cool elements and took the story in a bit of a different direction than I was expecting.
Yeah, and I love how Atsu drags the Oni back and she and Jubei both cut off his head right in front of the Matsumai. Like that was a really awesome moment. I really like that. That whole battle was also really cool. I really enjoyed fighting against him. I mean, I had the weapon against him that was useful, which was the Odachi.
Mm-hmm.
And so I felt like that battle was a little bit easier than any of the times I had encountered the Kitsune, who I did not have the recommended weapon, the Yari, for. I just had to make do with my katana and kusarigama. But yeah, the Odachi fight in particular, I was like, okay, like I feel like we're on level training ground, and I see him take his Odachi and put the fire oil on it, so I do the same with mine. And it's at this point where I feel like I'd really actually kind of gotten down the combat mechanics, so I'm just like, I'm getting the parry timings down and everything, and it's just so satisfying. But when you mess up, it's like, okay, fuck, I wasn't good enough. But you can only blame it on your skill.
Unreal. A wandering spirit seeking vengeance.
Who are you? I thought we killed your whole family.
The snake. The Oni. The Kitsune. The spider. The dragon. Lord Saito.
What are we going to do with this one, Saito?
I'm sorry. It came to this, little wolf.
Situ Rainu. Why do you always call me that?
It means one who is easily lost in the hunt.
To go home. Back where all this started.
Yeah, and this game I think scales the skill really nicely, especially with the difficulty levels, which is not out of the ordinary for a game like this. But I know people who are playing this on lethal and going through, and it's like one hit will take you down, and they are just perfecting their strategy. I don't really have the patience for that anymore. And I played through on normal, and there were a couple battles that I dumped it down to easy because I just kept on dying over and over. And you know what? Even on easy, I still died a few times in some of those fights. So I was like, this. Yes, it's a me problem, but also like I'm not bad at video games, and if I'm struggling this hard on this level of parrying and dodging and everything, something is up with the difficulty, and I think there are some fights that just scale incredibly to an extreme in that you bring the difficulty down and you're still finding it challenging.
Well, and it's those moments too also where I feel like maybe that's a chance to change your build up, because if you take the time to explore, I mean, you can make a lot of builds between the armor perks and the charms, and so like you can do things like making the perfect parry timing window easier and making perfect parries reward you and stuff. And so there's always kind of a build to take down. I've played through this game still on hard. I haven't adjusted the difficulty since. Anytime I've gotten to a part where it's like starting to get too hard, like I'll either put it down or like I'll change up my playstyle or try something else out. But I feel like in most times it just really comes down to like learning the patterns and stuff. It's like kind of that like Dark Souls thing, where it's just like, figure out, it's like get good, you got to figure out the timings for this boss, because it's the bosses I feel like where I come across the most difficulty. If it's another kind of mission, that just kind of comes down to taking a different approach, because you can stealth it, and honestly, stealth is probably the easiest way to go about a lot of these encampments and stuff. Like if stealth is an option, it's almost always the best option, just because you can instantly kill enemies, and if you've got the stealth armor with all the charms that benefit stealth, you can just really clear crowds of enemies. Like I really love the crimson armor and the stealth charms that go with it that you can put on it, so that you can just really kind of craft this, because I'm a stealth guy, so I love using stealth any opportunity. But I also find myself switching to other, like when I get a new armor in the world, like the Undying Armor. Did you do that quest line, the Undying Armor quest line?
Oh, I think I may have. It does not
with the wind chimes
immediately come to me. I think I did. Let me double check real quick, but tell me about that quest line, and maybe that will jog my memory.
So it's one of the tales that you come across from the storytellers, who they do like the little ink brush painting cinematic, and they've got the song that they're doing, and you're going after this guy who's called the Undying Samurai, whose armor can only be claimed by somebody that kills him in battle.
Yes, okay. So, I did do this quest. Yeah, this was a cool one. I really enjoyed playing through this one.
Yeah, collecting the wind chimes and finding each wind chime, and then you finally get to that final battle, and you fight this dude, and it's such a good fucking boss battle. It's just really, really good.
Yeah. It was great, and that armor became my go-to armor for quite a while. I really liked how it looked. I enjoyed the perks that it gave you. But yeah, that battle was so cool, and I remember encountering that person, and I believe that was a battle that I lost many times to, until I was finally able to kind of learn the attack patterns and then beat him and be able to get the armor and everything. Such a cool thing, though.
I must have been in the zone. Like maybe I hit a black flash or something, and I got myself in the rhythm, because I actually beat that dude in one go, and I surprised myself, because like a lot of these boss fights like take a few tries for me, but that guy I had it down. I was like, every time he swapped weapons, I swapped him out. And what's cool is that armor specifically gives you a bonus that increases the effectiveness of weapons against the weapons that they're effective against. Mm-hmm. That was probably the worst way of wording that, but but yeah, like it. So that was a really cool armor, and I want to play around more with it. But I kind of mostly stick to either the Crimson Kimono for stealthing, or the Onryo armor, which is like the story armor, or the lower accurate one. And I like that one too because it increases your own abilities, which is cool for clearing out crowds of enemies. But that also can work really well with a stealth play style or like assassinating. So you can kind of swap between them. So I like that armor too for just like my general, like if I'm going on a story quest, I'll usually put on the Onryo armor and kind of just, I'll configure myself to that armor's play style and I'll change the charms. I appreciate that they give you, different loadouts that you can use. I feel like Ghost of Tsushima actually let every single piece of armor have its own individual loadout, whereas this one seems to limit you to 5, which I'm not a fan of, but either way, it's not that hard to go in and switch it up, and there's probably only 5 that you'll probably use on a regular basis. But I'm really enjoying just kind of like exploring all these different play styles, which is something I also did in Ghost of Tsushima. It's like every time I would find a new piece of armor, like I'd try it out and I'd play that way for a little while. And sometimes, I'd come back to a situation where I'll be like, okay, stealth is going to be good here. Or, okay, here's a one-on-one fight where like this armor is going to be really effective,
Yeah, and it's really cool how as you upgrade the armor, it changes the look of it as well. And it kind of gives you different options, and you can sort of select what you want to do. It was just I appreciate the level of like versatility and creativity you could sort of have with that. And then the different dye houses you can go to. And I do wish there was a little bit more variety for the dyes. I feel like only certain armors, could really change color. And when they could, you weren't able to customize them as much as I might like. But that's okay. There are other games I can play if I want to, customize my clothes and my armor and everything. Doesn't need to be this one. But there are a lot of cool armor sets to look at. I don't even think I've gotten every armor set. There might be one left that I have to find, but I've gotten the majority of them so far.
I feel like I've gotten quite a lot of them. Like I remember waiting and I was like, I haven't come across an archery one yet. Like I know there's going to be an archery focused one, and I finally just got the dragonfly armor. So I'm gonna test ride that for a little while the next time I boot up the game and just focus on archery, like I did with the Takahashi armor. I think that's what it was called in Ghost of Tsushima, which actually was one of my favorites. Whereas I typically favored the Ghost armor once I got it, or the Ronin armor before, because that was the more stealth build. Like I remember coming back to that one. So I also do. I also know that I must be hitting towards a certain point in the game because I have unlocked most of the techniques. I only have like a handful left that are available of the ones that are unlockable. Of course, there are some that are still locked behind story progress, but I've actually been seeking out the altars of reflection. I like that, it's as simple as that. You just have to come across an altar of reflection and you'll always get a new technique, whereas Ghost of Tsushima used kind of more of like an experience system where like a quest could bring you over the mark, but not necessarily. I mean, you were almost, if you did a quest, you were almost guaranteed to level up, but it was kind of like progress was a little bit more RPG. Like here, it's like, no, you find an altar, you're gonna get a technique, and I appreciate that simplification here. But I also felt like it was cool because coming across an altar can encompass a number of things. Either it's an encampment that you have to go through and kill all the guards and kill someone who in between who's your bounty target, or it's just something that you find in the open world, or something that you're guided toward, or it was. I thought it was cool, like the different ways that techniques are presented to you, but it was also like very doable just to max out those skill trees, and it's like you mentioned in the last episode that you would pick one weapon and max it out and then move on. And I hadn't really fucked around with the weapon skills up to that point. I was kind of maxing out like my stealth skills and other things. But then once you get to a point where you come across each like weapon master, you get to a point where they actually tell you need to master all the skills in this tree in order to unlock this. So I actually felt compelled to do that. So now I've fully mastered the Odachi, the Yari, and the Kusarigama.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, I've got, I forget which weapon I have left to do, but I think I've mastered just about all of them. And there are different, skills you can pick up for each one, and you learn more as you kind of go through the game, and there's just so much to be able to do and explore with all that. There are, I've heard some criticisms and complaints about the weapons in particular, and how it's essentially like a rock, paper, scissors system of just matching up against whatever weapon you're going up against. I find the different weapons way more interesting, though, than the different stances that Ghost of Tsushima had. I feel like this is a better version of that, and I love switching up the weapons. And there are some that I really enjoy using. And when I pull out like my massive sword that I need 2 hands to wield, and I'm so slow, but I just cut things in half as I come down on them. Like, it's just so satisfying, and the weapons feel so different. And that is such a really enjoyable experience to have when you're, playing through and just experimenting with all of these different things.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little immersion breaking when the weapon on her back always changes depending on whether it's a bow or a odachi or a kusarigama. And, she just pulls a spear out of nowhere. But, I mean, that's just video game stuff. And you're going to see that everywhere. But other than that, I appreciate the variety in combat now, where it's not just like, with Jean, it's like you had these different stances and they played differently, but visually, it's just him holding a katana with 2 hands every single time, So it's like here we've actually got, like all these different weapons that do different things. And I was surprised because I didn't think I would like, for instance, the kusarigama as much as I did. But it ended up becoming one of my favorites because it's actually kind of an assassination-focused weapon. And there's a perk, a skill that you can pick up, or a technique is what they call it, that allow you to assassinate from a distance. And at first that costs 1 spirit to do, but then there's a perk that actually removes that requirement. And so now you can just perform long-distance assassinations whenever you want. You can't chain assassinate, but oh god, when you max out like the crimson armor and you've got like the right charms equipped and stuff, you can chain together like chain assassinations plus like kunai assassinations, and the kusarigama assassinations are much longer. So it's really, really cool, just like kind of opening all these different ways, and there's so many different ways to progress. But I wanted to ask you, what is your favorite weapon so far?
I really enjoy the dual katanas. I try to use those whenever I'm able, whenever it makes sense in a fight. Well, that's my favorite melee weapon. My favorite weapon in the game is probably the musket that you get. And it's just so satisfying when you go through that quest and you're able to pick it up and start to use it. And it's a very interesting weapon in that you can use it pretty much anytime you want. Not always the best idea, and I've died many times trying to like shoot someone that is charging me with a katana, and that's not the best idea. But it sort of combines, the way you like to play the game with stealth with just some of like the sharpshooting, techniques that I enjoy. And so getting a high vantage point or crouching in the grass and just acquiring a target, getting a headshot from like super far away, it's just so fun. And you have, your slow down time abilities to be able to really hone in on different targets. It takes time to be able to reload, so you have to be careful and watch out for stuff like that. There is an ability that when you're going up against guys with guns, there's an armor set that you can deflect the bullets with your sword, which is super fun. To just like walk toward a firing squad and just deflect all these bullets and not taking any damage. That is great. I also unlocked the pistol recently, but I haven't used that too much. That's a quick fire, item. But yeah, the rifle in the game is just so satisfying, and it makes me excited that if in the next Ghost game, if we jump ahead a bit farther in time and have a little bit more advanced technology, I think there's some really cool opportunities for some of those weapons to come out and be able to play around with.
Definitely. That would be badass, yeah. I haven't come across the musket yet or any firearms, but I'm really excited for that. I have been unlocking just about everything I can. I've got all of the melee weapons, obviously. And yeah, I think the kusarigama is my favorite just because it's, like stealth focused. But I also, I feel like every weapon is so satisfying to use in the right scenario. It's like you get that little yellow glint where they're about to disarm you and you're like, no, I'm gonna fucking disarm you first, because I think there's a skill that does that. That disarms the enemy instead. So that's really fucking cool, but you have to get that timing down. Sometimes you have to remember, like your instinct might be to try to parry or dodge it. But no, yellow glint means you got to hold down the button and do it. Like Ghost of Tsushima, I do feel like there are so many different like ways to go through combat that I don't always feel like I'm utilizing all of them. And I'm like, okay, it's like I unlock the skill, I should find a place to use it. But but yeah. Out of the melee weapons, I've also unlocked, like the both of the different bows, obviously, and the fire bombs and the blind bombs, smoke bombs, kunai, and the oil, the oil that you put on your blade to light it on fire, and the Mitsubishi. So I think where it really comes in handy too is like, it's like, okay, yeah, I've thrown all my kunai now, so let me like switch to something else. And so that gives you an opportunity to explore, but you can honestly like easily, restock, not just by going to shops, by literally just setting up camp, whenever you want. And we didn't talk about that in part 1, but the camp mechanic is really cool because not only does it allow you to give yourself a new perk every day that lasts for a few hours and might influence the build that you pick for that day, but you can also switch the day-night cycle. You can restock on your weapons, and occasionally, people will actually join your encampment and sell you things, and you can even actually like trigger specific people to come. It's like, okay, if you have an armor upgrade, but you're not next to the armor guy, you can have him come to your camp, or the bow girl come to your camp and upgrade your shit. I really liked that.
It's such a cool system. It's one that I hope other games adopt over time because it just makes it so much more convenient to manage all this different stuff.
Yeah.
And stock up on supplies and upgrade your gear. And especially for someone like you, if you don't want to be fast traveling all the time and you really wanted to stay in the world, having someone visit your camp as you're setting it up is a very convenient way to be able to stay immersed and still have it, logically make sense why this person would be there for you.
Exactly. I mean, it is a little weird how every single person comes to whatever region Atsu's at, no matter where she is, but
hey, they travel around, they get around.
Yeah, they always have like some kind of like shoehorn explanation. Like you come across Isaburo, the map merchant, and he'll always like have a remark about coming to that region. So, like I said, it makes a little bit more sense if you just kind of like stick to one region at a time. And it's like, okay, well, I guess they're following her somehow, and that's a little bit weird, but at least they're not following her exactly where she goes when she fast travels across the world. But I appreciate that like all of the resources are there, whenever you need them, and you're building up relationships with these people. Like they could have like had different people for every single region. Like everywhere you go, there's a different armor merchant, but I think they really wanted to like kind of build together these these character dynamics, and it's like here's our supporting characters, and they have a little bit of a story too, and a little bit of a personality. The same thing with the mentors. The only thing with the weapon masters, though, I felt is that their quest lines do become a little bit repetitive. Once you go through like 2 or 3 of them, you're like, okay, these all play out exactly the same. Like you meet the dude, you fight some dudes, he gave you some quests, you come back, you do one more quest to finish everything. I think you have to beat the target before they give it to you. And then, they're like, okay, now master everything and you can have my weapon. And it's the same thing every single time. But at least those characters were really interesting, and those specific storylines that were side stories in those regions and actually had, somewhat to do with, for instance, like the Yotei 6 that you were coming across. It's like when you come across the Kusarigama Master, I think that was Master Enomoto, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, and Yoshida's the Odachi guy, and Hanbei's the dual katana guy, and Takahashi, I think, is the... I know I said that name earlier, but I think it is the same name, is the Yari guy. But anyway, that dude has a whole quest line that involves the Nine Tails in that region, and like has a whole thing like with his son. So I thought the stories were interesting, but they could have like did a little bit more variety with those quests at least.
Yeah, there's a lot of we didn't even really get into the Ninetales stuff. Like the Ninetales was such a cool like regional storyline that the way they would just pop up out of nowhere, they kind of reminded me of the in Breath of the Wild, the ones that are in the desert that just pop up out of nowhere. The clan that I'm blanking.
Yiga.
Yeah, that's it. it reminded me of that. Like I'll just be running along and sometimes like they'll set traps and like your horse will stumble over something and they'll come out of the bushes and you have to fight them. Like it was just so cool. Like you could never feel fully safe when you're exploring that region. And like you said, the master and his son and him being the Nine Tails, going through the Nine Tails camps and needing to take them out, and there's puzzle solving that goes along with that, and there's just a lot of fun gameplay elements. I think I said that I love that region of the game, that northernmost region, probably the best. Snow in games just is always so aesthetically pleasing for me, and there's also something that like I really don't like the cold, so the fact that I can be under a warm blanket and make my character run through snow is just like really cathartic for me and enjoyable. But there's it's such a beautifully designed part of the game and a lot of really fun like gameplay elements and those puzzles that you can solve. It's just so cool.
It is cool, and I like how like the ice. I don't think this was a thing in Tsushima. The ice actually causes your health to freeze, and you can't heal it. It'll like freeze up part of your health bar. So I feel like I don't really remember there being a lot of like weather situations in Ghost of Tsushima, but Ghost of Yotei actually kind of does have a little bit of that with the ice. Yeah, sometimes you'll come into a snowstorm and it's like, well, it might be better to come back here later. But then I know there was a particular bounty that like you have to do during a snowstorm. But there is a piece of armor, Tara's armor, that will actually protect against cold and heat. So that's actually effective to use there, as well as against the Oni Raiders in Ishikari Plain with their fire weapons. So I like having specific like armors and stuff. But going back to what you said about the Nine Tails, I did think it was cool how they would just kind of pop out of nowhere. And when you first enter the region, it's like, oh my God, they can come whenever I want. But then later you get an ability that you had been missing up to that point, and you're like, does this game even have the ability to focus in and hear things like you can in Tsushima? It does. It's just something you unlock later on in the game, much later during the Kitsune quest line, and it's kind of tied to Atsu like learning like shinobi training, which I thought was cool. It's mapped to R3 now. You just hold down R3 to do it, which makes sense because that's the button to crouch, and the map being mapped to the touchpad makes a lot more sense to me too because it's a convention I'm used to. But anyway, I like how you can later get an ability that can help you sense Nine Tails before they come after you. But like that's something that like when you first come to the region, like you're gonna get ambushed. And even in other parts of the world, like you mentioned, like they'll set up traps and stuff, and you don't always see it coming.
Exactly, and it's I think every region has something very unique and distinct about it, and the Nine Tails were some of the most memorable for me, for sure, of things that go through. It's funny how the game kind of orders itself as well. Before it fully opens up and you can kind of choose, like, do you want to go after the Oni or the Kitsune? You're going after Sato himself, and there's a scene where you go through, like, the attic of a building and you see him talking to everyone, and there's an option to assassinate him. And I honest to God thought like, oh wow, is this like, can I just end this now and then go take out the others? Can I start with the leader? Is that a choice? And then, he dodges your attack and is a whole thing, and is your element of surprise is lost and you have to, sort of regroup and go from there. But that was such a cool moment, and I really thought they got me. I was like, oh man, this is it. I'm about to kill this guy. So I guess that is a lesson to be learned. Unless they set up a very specific duel with one of these characters, they're not dead. Like they're and even sometimes you do a duel and they will come back in the next scene or a little later, and you'll have to finish them off. So there's always something kind of lurking in the shadows you have to be looking out for.
Definitely, yeah. And Saito himself, I think, is a really compelling villain because, I mean, he's such a bastard right away. You're like, oh my God. But you get that like flashback to their childhood and like how he deceived them as children and how he came after their family. But then, you can pick up scrolls and stuff. And this is kind of similar to the way that you could find lore about Khoten Khan in the first game. But like you can actually find out like Saito's like backstory, his history, and like why the way he is, and like his whole family was killed and shit. And it's like, okay, so it's kind of like actually like fleshing this character out. And I feel like as I get to know this character more and come after him, I feel like he's going to be even more compelling villain.
Yeah. 100%. And there's a lot that, gets uncovered throughout the game, and the way that the desperation that you feel from them as you're going through taking out more of the Yotei 6. The fact that Saito is, two of the main characters who I'm trying to go after now, the dragon and the spider, are his sons. And there's more... I think there are higher stakes, and there's more anxiety about the fact that now it's a family, and you're trying to track down a family unit, very similar to how they came and took out your family. And so it's there's a lot more pressure, I feel like, coming from that side of things, and it kind of ramps up the stakes of this game, and makes for a very satisfying late game experience as I'm going through right now. And you're still getting new abilities and weapons, and you're upgrading your guns, and doing all these different things. But just extremely satisfying, a lot of fun. And we both have between 60 and 90 hours in this game, and we're not done. Like, we're still going. And honestly, I'm so excited for the Legends mode that's coming out next year. With how much fun this has been, this experience, the fact that I then get even more value out of this game and play with my friends online, that will be such a cool experience. And you and I should definitely sync up and play some games together when that comes out.
We definitely should, and I definitely feel like we should cover it in some way. Like, I can either do like a let's play, or maybe even do like an episode on it, like a game launcher bonus round episode on it once it comes out. And it'll give me an excuse to jump back into Yotei and maybe finish it too, with so many games coming out. Because now I'm already gonna pretty much have to abandon this game because Metroid Prime 4 is out, and I'm probably gonna be focusing on that plus A Link to the Past. And I still want to get as far as I can in Hyrule Warriors because I plan to record that this weekend. But anyway, yeah, like, there's just so much more to explore. This game demands so much of your attention, and it's worth it. It's just there's so many games coming out right now. But if your slate is open, 100%. I mean, there's so many different new mechanics that we haven't even talked about, like the throwing weapons. I thought that was really cool. It felt cheap at first because I was like, oh, so you can just like instant kill anybody from a distance just by picking up their weapon. But, it does have some limitations, and it doesn't insta-kill everybody. And it's just another thing that adds a little bit of variety, and it feels cool to just clear out a crowd of enemies, pick up their weapons, or disarm an enemy and throw their weapon back at them. Mm-hmm. There's actually, I think, a trophy for that, and there's a charm that upgrades the more you do that too.
There is, yeah. The throwing of the weapon mechanics is my favorite thing to do in this game. Anytime there's a weapon that's disarmed, I will go out of my way to pick it up and just chuck it at somebody. Yeah. Especially if they're unaware. If I can get them, I go the maximum distance for it to hit. And it's like watching your favorite quarterback just throw a Hail Mary into the end zone. Like, just her arm just chucking that spear or that sword, sailing straight through the sky, embedding into the chest of this dude. It's so satisfying. It's so cool. It is so much fun. And I really enjoy the ranged weaponry in this game. I think they made a lot of improvements over Ghost of Tsushima in that way.
Definitely. Yeah, just so many new things and to find out and do. And I'm excited to get into more of the game. But I guess this is where we'll wrap it up for now, and unless you had anything else to bring up, Dan.
No, I love this game. Right now, as we record in December of 2025, this is probably my game of the year. I have to double check everything else I played this year and see if anything else beats it. But this is a huge highlight. And when I picked it up in October, I told myself, take my time. This is my fall game. This is what I'm going to play. This is going to be the whole season, not just a few weeks. And so far, that's shaped up to be true. I'm definitely bouncing around with some other games. I'm still playing Pokemon Legends ZA. I got Metroid Prime. I got talked into playing Arc Raiders, so I'm on that, a few nights every week now. There's just a lot. My goal is to be able to wrap up most of these games, and Yotei will be sooner, potentially by the end of the year because I am so close. But Resident Evil Requiem comes out in February, and I want to be fully cleared for that when that releases. So I'm going to be really focusing on these current games that I have before we get into next year.
Yeah, we're definitely going to be doing a game launch episode on the new Resident Evil. So yeah, I'm excited for that. But yeah, I mean, as for my final thoughts, or at least my thoughts so far, because can I really have final thoughts until I finish the game? But Ghost of Yotei is a masterpiece. It absolutely lived up to the hype. That and it absolutely raised the bar from the last game. I still feel like in terms of story, I liked Ghost of Tsushima a little bit more, but I haven't finished Ghost of Yotei, so maybe that is not even fair to say. And I do feel like it's a really good story, and it's better than I even kind of initially thought. And I still liked it before, but it's like the more I get into it, the more I like it. In terms of gameplay, absolutely, this is a step up, an improvement, like we mentioned before, but. I just for Sucker Punch to deliver something as incredible as Ghost of Tsushima was, and to follow it up with this and just raise the bar is absolutely phenomenal. So kudos to them, kudos to the developers that worked on this, and I'm really excited to see more out of the Ghost franchise. I know that we are getting a live action adaptation. So I'm really excited about that. I don't know if they're just going to straight up adapt Ghost of Tsushima, or if they're going to try to do a new story in this universe. I'm excited to see where what they do with the Legends mode. And I'm excited to see where future games take this franchise. Are they going to push forward in the future, like you mentioned earlier? Are they going to try to take some other period of Japan's history, some other location? But yeah, just wow for Sucker Punch to just do the same thing twice and do it even better this time. I mean, wow, that's incredible. The only Ghost of Yotei's really only fault is coming out in a year when we've had just so many good games, because this would have easily been my game of the year almost any other year, but it's competing against Expedition 33 and now Metroid Prime 4 for me.
There's so much, and it was almost so much worse because Grand Theft Auto 6 was going to come out within weeks of this game, and thankfully, I'm actually grateful that it is releasing next year instead, because there's way too much to play otherwise right now.
Me too. I feel like I'm one of the few that's like, I feel like people are so pissed off that they've been waiting, and I'm like, no, like every time I hear that there's a delay for Grand Theft Auto, I'm like, you know what, fine. One, because we're going to get a better game as a result that's more polished and holds up to standards. I feel like Rockstar saw what happened with games like No Man's Sky and Cyberpunk, right? But two, I mean, like you said, like there's just so much coming out right now. I can't even keep up with it. And I have such a huge list of games that I've basically just tried this year, but I haven't really like fully dived into. And there's even a few more that I just haven't played at all, like Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, Blueprints, So anybody that says gaming is bad, I'm sorry, you're ignorant. If you think modern gaming is bad, you're just ignorant, because there is so much coming out and so much of it is top tier, like high quality stuff. Is Ghost of Yotei going to be for everybody? No, but it's a high quality open world action adventure game that is, you can't fault any part of like you can't like say that they didn't try their absolute best to make a damn good game and just put the absolute highest amount of polish they could on it.
Yeah, and if this game isn't for you or you didn't enjoy it, which, I mean, if that is the case, thanks for listening to us for the last hour or so. Go through this game. But we have... I'm getting more comfortable, I think, with the idea of like, I don't need to play every single thing. I don't have to, give my attention to all these different things. A game that is good but is not for me is still a good game, and I can still enjoy those conversations, and I can, log into those Reddit threads and see TikToks and Let's Plays and all that. Like, you can still experience and have fun with a game even if you don't necessarily want to play it yourself, and I think that's fine. Gaming is also one of the biggest time commitments of any form of media. The only thing comparable would probably be reading a book, but even most books you'll get through in less time than it takes you to clear some of these games. I'm kind of envious. Like, obviously we both love movies. We watch a lot of movies. There are people who like that is their thing. The way we feel about video games is how they feel about movies. And they just watch movies every day and all the time, and they can see it. It is so much easier to get through a backlog of movies than a backlog of games, and I am jealous of if that's where like you want to spend your time and that's where you're interested in everything. That's cool. because you can, any weekend could be a very successful weekend for you in movie watching, whereas in gaming, I could play 10 hours of a game and barely scratch the surface of what I need to be doing in it. So it's, the time constraints are very different.
You're talking to somebody who does both a movie and a video game podcast, so believe me, I know. Movies are so much easier to get through. And I feel the way about movies almost as much as I do about video games, but video games to me, I feel like are the highest form of art just because of the interactive component. But they're also the biggest investment of your time, like you mentioned. It is so easy to just watch like 3 movies in a night. And I do all the time, and I'll post it online, and it's like, okay, yeah, I just watched like 3 movies back to back, and I can catch up on this stuff. But like, it's like a video game? No, like you gotta put time into that sucker. I can spend, a couple months on a game and scratch the surface of what's there. So
Yep. 100%. And I don't mistake that as like, I don't like movies. No, I love movies. They're some of my all-time favorite things. I play more games than that's not true either. I don't know what I'm saying. In a given year, I guess I complete more movies in a year than games I complete. I'll phrase it that way. And that's purely based on just the time and, keeping up on new movie releases way, way easier than new game releases. 3 games coming out on the same weekend is stressful. 3 movies coming out on the same weekend is a fun weekend. Yeah. So that's the difference.
Exactly. Well said. But all right, Dan, did you have anything to plug regarding Tech Raptor or Victims and Villains?
Well, you can follow me over on Tech Raptor. We have a lot of coverage coming out, particularly about Metroid Prime 4 that just released. We have a lot of good Ghost of Yotei content. We've got a review up there that you can check out as well. And you can also read a piece that I wrote shortly after this game came out about putting the map away and just experiencing the world the way you want. Over at Victims and Villains, they got a lot of really great stuff going on there, working to get resources for mental health assistance into schools and working through everything they can to just spread some joy and positivity over there. So go and give them a listen and see what is going on, especially with it being the holiday season. I know they tend to ramp up their holiday episodes, crossovers, and everything that is going on there. That's pretty much what I got going on. So it's a good time.
Hell yeah. Yeah. And with Victims and Villains, we're actually going to be working with this holiday, as we do every holiday, or the Abyss Gazing podcast, either way. And we are doing on the Collateral cinema side, the new Silent Night, Deadly Night. And I know, Dan, you expressed interest in maybe joining us for that.
Yes, that would be a lot of fun. Let me know when we have a timeline for that, and I'll see if I could join, because that'd be really cool.
Actually, we were discussing it tonight about figuring out a schedule to go ahead and record that this month. So I'll let you know. Also, we are going to be doing Santa's Sleigh over on the Victims and Villains side, so stay tuned for those holiday specials. Also coming from Collateral Cinema this month, Bad Movie December. We'll have out very soon our episode on the Buttercream Gang 2 with Cam from the Jacked Up Review Show. And then we are doing Neil Breen's Cade the Tortured Crossing, which is the sequel to Twisted Pair. And it's just an absolutely batshit movie, just like all of Neil Breen's movies. So stay tuned for all of that Collateral Cinema content. We'll have a Collateral Cinema Director's Cut Holiday Edition as well. We'll be focusing on Adult Swim holiday specials, as we do every year, and then some kind of year in review episode in January. For Collateral Gaming, we finally got through our November content. So now we're going to be jumping into Metroid Prime 4 next month. And Dan, you should be joining us for that as well. I know Zachary is going to be there, and Megan has the capability to play Metroid Prime 4, so I hope she joins us as well, because I'm really excited to talk about it. I've played the first. I actually recorded 3 back-to-back Let's Plays yesterday on.
Oh wow!
And I'm going to release them over the next few weeks. So the very next one will be our very first iteration of Metroid Monday. That may or may not be out already by the time I release this. And then we'll also be doing another Metroid Monday this month, and then Collateral Let's Play Shooter Saturday. After we do our Black Ops 7 episode, we're going to do another the third and final Let's Play of Metroid Prime 4. So I got all the way through the Volt Forge section. That's how far I am in the game now, and I got the Viola, and I'm exploring the hub area of Soul Valley, and my childhood just playing Metroid Prime games. God, I needed that.
I still can't believe it's real. Like, I'm looking at the screen.
I know.
I'm playing. Samus is on my screen. I'm just like, this does not, like, is this, what? I've waited so long for this. It's been 18 years since the last Metroid Prime game. What? 8 years since they announced it? Metroid Prime 4 was announced 3 months after the Nintendo Switch launched, and we're now into Switch 2. It's just incredible, and I'm having a blast with the game. So much fun. Think they did a really good job, and yeah, I'll have a lot more thoughts to share on it as I play more of that.
Fuck yeah. And then for our holiday special, we are satisfying the Zelda month requirement, as we usually do in December, with an episode on The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. And I'm really excited to get into that, as it's one of the few Zelda games that I've never completed. I've gotten close, but I'll finally actually be finishing it here this month, and we'll talk about it. We'll have a Collateral Gaming bonus run episode on the new Angry Video Game Nerd game that came out. So we're shifting gears from talking about Angry Video Game Nerd episodes, and this time we're going to cover a game for bonus round, and then we'll have our year-end review episode in January. We haven't actually figured out what our January content is going to be, because I'm waiting on Megan to tell me what her game is that she picked for that month. But
well, she picked Hogwarts Legacy around that time last year, right? Does she get 1 month a year? She can pick a game? Is that how that works?
So, yeah, the way I do it, I used to give everybody 2 games, and I've shortened it down now to 1 game each, but you can do either 1 2-part episode or 2 games in a month. And then the rest we kind of just figure out based on, like, okay, well, we need horror content. So I'll ask for recommendations and we'll all pick something together, or, okay, we need something for our holiday special. So, everybody gets at least 1 or 2 games that they get to pick, and then we all kind of input on like the specials and other episodes.
Very nice.
Dan, since you've been, making a lot more appearances here, probably next season, I'll even let you pick something to talk about for 1 month.
All right, get ready to do an episode all about Desert Bus. Here we come.
Fuck yeah. But yeah, that's what's coming up in the future. I mentioned Collateral Let's Play content coming out soon. Like I said, we started back up Shooter Saturday. We're starting up Metroid Monday. We'll have some more Phoenix Wright Wednesday episodes out as well, and also just some Let's Plays, I think, here soon, of just games that are coming out or games that I'm playing on the side. Would be fun. So stay tuned for that. If you can check those out on either the Collateral Gaming or Cinema YouTube channels. And if you want to support the show, we do also have a Patreon where you can have get access to exclusive Let's Plays that are there, or film commentaries. We do have a Buy Me a Coffee and a merch store on Dashery. So we'll have all that in the show notes. You can find us on social media and wherever you get your podcasts. Links in the show notes for all that as well. But yeah, I guess that just about does it. So with all that being said, I've been Ashley Chancellor.
And I've been Dan Rockwood.
This was Collateral Gaming, and we are out. Sayonara.
叫びよ悲しみよ
Collateral Gaming is a Collateral Media podcast. All music and game clips are owned by their respective creators and are used for educational purposes only. Please don't sue us. We're poor.